Imagine in some hypothetical future time frame, whether you believe it to be 5 years from now or 25 years from now, that AI and robots disrupt the entire workforce and they replace all forms, if not nearly all forms of productivity. Is that so far off that you cannot believe it? I don't think so. I think we're at the stage where that is actually extremely believable. Whether you want to believe in 5 years or 25 years, that's the question. Today I wanted to make this video and talk about why I'm building a personal brand and making myself uncomfortable sharing things that the part of me that wants to stay invisible wants to keep hidden. I unemployed myself so that I can beat AI in 20 years. This is my grand plan. I'm building a personal brand because I'm leaning into something that AI cannot replace. That got me thinking, because the future won't reward productivity. You think you can out-productize a robot? And that brings us to the question of identity. What is a human being? What separates a human being from a robot? It's certainly not productivity. A machine is productive. A human being in its full expression is not merely a machine, but is something more than a machine. And it is foolish to try to compete with the machines. The future will reward originality. The future will reward creativity. The future will reward humanness. And I do believe that originality and creativity is the thin line separating a human being from AI. And you can argue that AI also has creativity. And maybe it'll get to a point where human creativity and AI creativity are almost impossible to distinguish. But I beg to differ, because there's still something about AI that we just call slop. It's when it's AI generated, immediately you're like, oh, that's slop. That's not real. I firmly believe that imitation does not work anymore. Imitation and repetition is productivity. And if you can outsource imitation, productivity, to a machine, then there is no use for a human to try to be imitative and quote-unquote productive, because that job is now for the machine. You just train the machine to do it, and it will do it. Humans were never meant to be factory line workers. Imitating something, repeating something over and over, is such a small form of the full potential of human expression. And with the oncoming of AI and robots being able to replace that, it is time that us as human beings step into a fuller version of our expression. Elon Musk is so optimistic about the future. He's like, oh yeah, you won't have to work because everyone will have their personal R2-D2 robot and everybody will be rich. That's where I disagree, because who's going to control all of the fucking robots? You don't think it's going to be some megacorp? Similar to the lines of, what's that cyberpunk corporation? Arasaka. Who runs the government? You think it's the elected officials? Like, by now, everybody's starting to wake up. This idea of universal basic income. If everybody gets a universal basic income, what is the value of money? Here's the thing, right? AI can replace information. AI can replace knowledge. AI can replace how-tos. Any form of information you want, you just ask AI and it will give it to you. But what AI cannot replace is connection. What AI cannot replace is your story and my story. What AI cannot replace is what it means to be human. What AI cannot replace? AI has a mind. It is a deeply, critically sharp thinking entity. But it has no heart. It has no soul. And we are entering the stages of needing to rediscover again, what is this that makes us human? And we're going to start to have to ask these questions, because if we don't, the people who don't ask these questions, I will say, will be the ones replaced by AI. AI can't replace what makes you and I human. AI can't replace the human process of self-overcoming, the hero's journey. Right? Why are we so obsessed with stories? Because all the stories represent archetypes of the human experience, of overcoming, of becoming. AI cannot replace a man's self-transcendence into something greater than himself. So in 2026, this is what I'm leaning into, even though it kind of scares the fuck out of me. But I'll tell you what scares the fuck out of me more is living like an NPC that can be replaced by AI. Because to me, if I continue living like an NPC, then what is the difference between an NPC and an AI? If my self-worth is dependent on my productivity, then AI will just come along and replace me. Because if I deem my identity by the metric of productivity I produce, AI will slap me. I think it's time that us as human beings step into the higher role. Rather than the employee, we have to be the CEO of our lives. And what does the CEO do? The CEO makes high-level decisions and instructs the employees and gives the employee the vision of what productive tasks to do in order to get to that vision. It's time to play on the higher leverage and realize who we are as human beings in our fuller sense of self. And see you in the next one. Peace out.